So now the first uh, going to recite the prayer. So today I'm going to recite in Tibetan, and you can recite in English, if you want to, and if you want to recite in Tibetan, they also have Tibetan vanity there. Tenpa chonten de di ji je ba da chonpa yang da ba zu be san ji ri ba da she su tenpa de wa she ba ji den gen ba ji bu de we ka lo ju wa la na me pa la ta mi nam ji tenpa san ji chum den de pe ja wa che je tu ba la cha ze lo cho do cha su che wo tenpa chum den de di ji she ba da jomba yang da ba zo be san je ri ba tang sha zo den ba de wo ra she ba chi ten chen ba ji bu de we ka lo ju wa la na me ba la ta mi nam je den ba san je chum den de pe ja wa sha ja tu ba la cha ze lo cho do ja su che wo den ba chum den de ti shin she ba da jomba yang da ba zo be san je ri ba tang sha zo den ba de wo ra she ba chi ten chen ba Kibu dewe kalo juwa la na mepa la ta mi nam je tenpa sanje chumden de beja wa sha cha tuba la cha tse lo cho do jeb su chi wo kanze ka nye zo je tam se sa jen te la gongpa dunpo ne ngani je ten te na cho che te ze je ba je la cha tse lo nam da gonga chu to so san wa yi shi cha zo se je lumpo ta ba je de sum do la nye wa gongpo cho nye je la cha tse chen jo de ba te men da we she se to ta wa je la cha te te je da se ba su ma je nya me che jin je la cha gongpo do je chen ten ba tan je chen be ten ba bo se nam yin de ja zui 地心下拉查这罗大别对家这我就结为年松的追，这都等到就把是就去拉查这罗真啊这也那么样对。拉巴达拉扎多呢，现在当把军点点军队拉洋查这，第八这样没加薪，叫我别送错把这让这3年用说，第年上节点把也干嘛着瑞嘛没当就嘛是把做，没那么老当听的不对接去那听他他虽然第感觉是把。恐怕到年军节这对的，各大那大区域了就。识别出来做这个说来，那么后面 was to the profession of wisdom，我马上就没写了，把这些马见面干那节目所做上的一些句，对送结尾用了查子咯，对呀，他个的，把它上个的不对也说哈，对呀，他个的，把它上个的不对也说哈，对呀，他个的，把它上个的不对说哈。给的东大节就是我当面对那边电当车我当听不出去就送出去，但是得讲的来说，面对是我在那关系你正在看见当着了骗不了钱了，那么些你这天蹲着在把刚到阳大天边都能把关的，那做地送吧，面对全球身边做这3件。用电脑查资料，感觉电竞对吧？中搞吧没吧见面吧，切吧没吧多面吧，红啊没吧桌面吧，他对面对前面，这把你去现在吧左边3件马上去当把电脑查资料，闹满到了二兵。哦，也在西边去，做一些也没多，咱们这也老把也联系，你也得也这样吧。 sa ye shi do mi ai de ye bu ye wa ji do ye gu ye na ma da ye shi da ju ye ba sho yi dam guru ratna pendala kamniya taya me. Now next, refuge and bodhicitta prayer. This is very important when you recite this prayer. Make sure you take refuge to the three precious jewels and meditate on bodhicitta. So whatever you're listening here, the merit you accumulated through listening the teachings, you dedicate to yourself to achieve enlightenment Buddhahood for sake of all beings. So because of that reason, I'm going to listen to these teachings. Like that kind of bodhicitta is very important. Or maybe I recite in English. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the accumulation I create through teaching the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the accumulation I create through teaching to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the accumulation I create through teaching the Dharma, may I become the Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Kanji tuze niswa ne tawa tamje pambeche tambeche ne tunzebe. Kodam de la cha ze lo. Amala ye ke da lo ta nu jin ki tubun ta ta mi ke nam da tuwa kunje tanam chi zamba. Tamje ke do ta ki chue tun to ranja sunra kunda tawe mi ke san taba tubi chu mocho. Zewe kyongwe ta ke zeba ye se ze shini nam la kwe be tui. So now today, stanza 6. So make sure first, need to set up the intention, bodhicitta. So that's first very, very important. So any, uh, uh, whatever you study, listening this Dharma, it's not only for sake of oneself, but it's mainly, purpose of studying specific this very important subject, emptiness, is to achieve enlightenment Buddhahood for sake of all beings. So that's kind of the intention is really, really important. So today's stanza 6, Kangdo Sungwe Chibanam, Tarzin Chingwa Tenche Ching, Tinyi Kela Trebai, Tawamali Chebe Ko. By grasping at it the childish, strengthening bondage to extreme views. For the wise, this very fact is the doorway to cut free from the net of elaboration. So this stanza is showing dependent origination as taught it, right? Where Buddha taught. So dependent origination as taught to be the cutter of the net of your mind of self grasping, right? So this stanza 6. So dependent origination, the wisdom or understanding that dependent origination is the main wisdom who will able to cut the net of elaboration. So elaborations, which is mind of ego grasping, right? Uh, Ignorance. So understanding or the wisdom who understanding the dependent origination is the main wisdom can cut or free from the net of the elaboration, which is the mind of self-grasping, the fundamental causes of samsara, all the mental afflictions. So by grasping at it is the childish. What does that mean? Means by grasping, which is the previous stanza, stanza 5, what the stanza 5 saying is, whatsoever depend on conditions, that is devoid of intrinsic existence, right? What excellent instruction can there be more amazing than these proclamations? So it's talking about the dependent origination, right? So the understanding the dependent origination is the wisdom who can able to understanding the empty of in uh, in intrinsic existence, right? So wisdom of dependent origination is the one can understanding the empty of intrinsic existence. So that's they're talking about. By grasping means by grasping the dependent origination, right? Where the Buddha used the reason, the logic, why things are empty of inherent existence, because they are dependent origination, right? So by grasping the dependent origination at it the childish strength and bondage of extreme view. So childish, which is uh, mainly uh, according to the Buddhist tenets, among the Buddhist tenets, right? Mind only school, Sutra school, Vaibhashika schools, right? So general, uh, ordinary people, right? For them, they are like a childish, which in a specific, which means who don't understanding. The dependent means empty of inherent existence, right? Who not understanding. Like a little child, there are many things they don't understand. Same like, the childish which they used is the beings who not understanding dependent means empty of inherent existence, who don't understand these things. So that within the Buddhist tenets, the lower school, mind only school, Sutra, Vaibhashika school, of them, right? All of those followers, the, according to the middle way school's view, you know, uh, from that perspective, middle way school's perspective, so mind only and rest of all these uh, philosophers who are like a childish, they don't understanding uh, dependent origination means empty of inherent existence. So therefore, for them, just grasp at the dependent origination is create them more strengthened bondage to extreme views. So the extreme view, which is mind of self-grasping, right? Mind of ego grasping. The mind who grasps things exist independently. That called the extreme view, right? So absolutism. So extreme view is called a specific. There are two extreme view. Have two. One is called nihilism, right? Nihilism. That's the one part of extreme view. The another part of extreme view is called absolutism. right? So the mind of self-grasping, like these are the view which fall into absolutism. So that's called extreme views. So for mind-only school, rest of the Buddhists, you know, they feel like things where they arising from causes condition. That means these things are exist independently, right? They exist independently. See, flower is there. It's created by causes condition. It's there. So for them, knowing the things that depend on causal condition is for them is the reason of things exist independently, right? They exist independently because they depend on causal conditions. They, what means they arise. They arise from causal conditions. That's why they exist. So anything exists for the mind only school and rest of all the Buddhists, anything exists means exists independently, right? For them, existence, independent existence is the same. And there's nothing different. It's these two, right? That is why rest of the other, not only mind only in the school, even like ordinary people like us, we, right? When we, for us, as soon as things, when the cause the condition create, the result, when they arise from the cause condition, for us, yes, these results might exist because it arises from cause condition. So anything exists for us, that means it exists independently, inherently. Right? So for childish like us who don't cognizing, you know, dependent origination means empty of independent existence. For those people, anything dependent origination, when we see that things are dependent on causal condition, it gives us much stronger, mm, create, create much stronger extreme view, right? Means it's create us more stronger grasping on independent existence. That's what I call is strengthens bondage of extreme view. So it's strengthening bondage because we are tied, bondage by mind of self-grasping, right? That's why we circle in samsara, right? How we circle in samsara? To our link of interdependence that we're talking about. So the main cause is the first link of interdependence is ignorance, right? Ignorance, which is mind of self-grasping. Main ignorance is that. So mind of self-grasping is the one who bondage, tied us in samsara, right? So that's why here it is saying, grasping by grasping on dependent origination, for us, it creates us much stronger, you know, grasping on independent existence. So that stronger self-grasping bondage to us, right, tied us into samsara. So that's stronger instead of dependent origination, understanding on dependent origination, instead of reduce the mind of ego grasping, self-grasping, for us, like a childish, it's increased more mind of ego grasping, right? Because of dependent origination, it is asserted, asserted to be the independent existence. So it is saying, rest of all the Buddhist school, except middle way consequences school, right? Middle way school, rest of the Buddhist school, you know, because of the dependent origination, it is asserted to be independent existence. Because of dependent origination, that is why things exist independently. So for them, dependent originations is the reason of independent existence. Rest of all the school except middle way school, right? Middle way consequence schools. So therefore, it is saying by grasping at it the childish. So by grasping, what they're grasping? Dependent origination, right? By grasping on dependent origination, it the childish, the people who are not understanding Buddhist, they create that much stronger, strengthened bondage of extreme view, which is mind of self-grasping. It creates much stronger mind of self-grasping. For the wise, this very fact is the doorway to cut free from the net of elaboration. For the wise, specific here, middle way philosophers, right? Madhyamika Pasankikas, scholars. So those are the wise. Mainly wise, which means the people who understanding dependent origination means empty of inherent existence, right? Empty of inherent existence means dependent origination. So who cognizing, who understanding dependent origination means empty of independent existence. Those people, it is called the wise. So for the wise, this very fact is the doorway to cut free from the net of elaboration. So for them, this very fact, what is this? Dependent origination, right? This dependent origination, wisdom of dependent origination is the very fact, is the doorway, is the doorway to cut free from the net of elaboration. I mentioned earlier, right? Elaboration, which is mind of self-grasping, mind of equal grasping, right? This is the one who create all the samsara, who create all this drama, who create all these sufferings. That is why it's called elaborations. Wisdom of mind of equal grasping, they use the word, elaboration, because mind of equal grasping, the main, like a projector, right? Who projected the samsara, all the sufferings, all the drama which we be playing right now, right? Everything come from there. So therefore, for the wise people, the people who understand the dependent origination means emptiness. For them, wisdom of dependent origination, this very fact, this, right, understanding, wisdom of dependent origination, this very fact is the doorway, is the one of the main doorway to cut and free from the net of elaboration. This will cut the mind of self-grasping. So huge differences. For the childish, understanding the dependent originations create much stronger, strengthening your boundary of extreme view, mind of equal grasping. For the wise, means the people who understanding dependent origination means emptiness, empty of inherent existence. For them, understanding the dependent origination is the doorway to cut your mind of ego grasping, mind of self-grasping, right? That's what I call from the net of elaboration, right? Mind of ego grasping. So that it's showing this, dependent origination, a wisdom of the dependent origination, as Buddha taught, is to be the cutter of the net of self-grasping, right? This wisdom of dependent origination is to be the cutter, right? Antidote, to the net of self-grasping, right? So that is why this dependent origination is a very, very important subject, which is that will cut to the whole, what you call here, net of elaboration, which means net of your self-grasping, right? Completely cut it. So therefore, it is very, very important. That is why where Buddha taught the dependent origination is that among the teaching, this is the one of the most amazing teaching. Teaching on dependent origination is the most amazing, right? Most wonder teachings. So it's showing Buddha is one of the very unique teacher. You cannot find the others teachers, right? That's how they praise, Lama Tsongkhapa praise to the Buddha. So then next, in the Shinto Matongwe, Tenpa Sheja Kyu Ni De, Wajela Ne Sengishi, Mudi Chelan Chambu Tsik. Since this teaching is not seen elsewhere, you alone are the teacher. Like calling fox a lion, for a Titika, it will be word of flattery. So this stanza 7 showing praise the Buddha as a supreme for thought-dependent origination. But it's praising to the Buddha, one of the supreme teacher as a supreme who taught this dependent origination, this knowledge, the dependent origination, this knowledge, the person who discovered that is the Buddha Shakyamuni, right? He's the first being to discover this very, very important knowledge. None of other teachers taught on this subject. None of others. During the Buddha time, there are many teachers, the Tatikas, the Hindus, what you call and many other philosophers during that time. They're very scholars, but none of those taught dependent origination, this philosophy. So it's the Buddha is the first teacher who taught that. So that's why Lama Tsongkhapa praising him, since this teaching is teaching on dependent origination, right? Since this teaching is not seen elsewhere. So this teaching, when you look at which tradition is teaching on dependent origination, when you look at, you cannot find any other tradition, none of them teaching that. So since this teaching is not seen elsewhere, wherever you go, you alone are the teacher. You, Buddha, right? Shakyamuni, Gautam Buddha, you are only the one who teach on this dependent origination. You are only the one teacher who teach dependent origination, nothing else. But this dependent origination is how much it's important, right? This is the one, the wisdom who understanding the dependent origination is the one can able to cut your mind of self-grasping, which is the basic ground of mental afflictions, the sufferings, right? So if you're really understanding Four Noble Truths, 12 link of interdependence, and that his philosophy explain the sufferings, variety types of the suffering which we have. Among those, one of the most like a fundamental suffering it is the suffering of pervasive conditioning, right? Suffering of pervasive conditioning is the most important suffering which we need to know, because suffering of pervasive conditioning is the basic ground of the suffering of change, suffering of suffering, the rest of all this suffering. So suffering of pervasive conditioning is your contaminated aggregates, right? Your body and mind's contaminated. So when you really investigate, analyze where they're coming from, all these sufferings, general, samsara suffering, in the six realms of suffering, we have suffering of change, of this ended up suffering of pervasive conditioning. And that coming from mental affliction and karma. And these karmas and mental afflictions, finally, the main seed ended up to the mind of self-grasping, right? Ignorance. So, and that one is the root seed of rest of all our sufferings. So this root seed, the poison, the ignorance, can cut only the wisdom who understanding the dependent origination, nothing else, right? Nothing else. So that is why teaching on dependent origination is the most important, the philosophy. So that knowledge, only Buddha Shakyamuni, you are the only the person taught, nothing else. Therefore, here saying, stanza 7 saying, since this teaching is not seen elsewhere, you alone are the teachers. So you alone are the meaningful teacher, real teacher, right? Teacher, which means who teach us to overcome our ignorance, right? So the purpose of relying on a teacher is to overcome our ignorance, right? To achieve happiness. So who is going to do that? Buddha, you are the only. So I'm talking here from the middle way perspective, right? From that perspective, Buddha Shakyamuni, you are the only the one who can able to lead us to our final destination, ultimate happiness, nothing else. Because that ultimate happiness is our final goal. That goal, who can teach us? Who can lead us? Buddha Shakyamuni, you are the only. Reason is because that ultimate happiness is blocked by one's own mind of ego grasping, ignorance. So that mind of ego grasping only you can cut by wisdom or understanding the dependent origination, nothing else. So that's why teaching on dependent origination is the one of the most important. That's the only, lead us to that final destination. Therefore, you are the one or the meaningful teacher, which we call teacher. You absolutely, have that qualities of the teachers. That's why saying you alone are the teacher. Like calling fox a lion for a tatika, it will be word of flattery. So we call usually, tatikas, uh, non-Buddhist philosophers, all this during the Buddha's time, they all call great teachers, to all of them, their own traditions, so teachers. But from the middle way perspective I mentioned earlier, these are the teacher cannot overcome our ignorance, mind of ego grasping. That is why it's not qualified. The teacher you can call, you can label as a teacher, but that word teacher for you is like a flattery, right? Flattery. It's not real meaningful, right? It's not the real one. It's just flattery. So the Buddha for you, teacher, is the meaningful to you, significant to you. Rest of them is not meaningful. So it's like a fox. You can call them as a lion, right? They ancient days the story, fox. You take a lion's whatever face or something, and their mask, lion mask, and uh, telling themselves as a lion, like that kind of. Uh, it's just call, it just tell you line, it's just label, but you are not capable as a what the line doing. So it's not meaningful for you. So these words are for them, it's like a flattery. It's meaningless, right? It's not a real, you know, uh, a line. So similar like that for rest of the all the teachers, you know, it's it's kind of the maybe other follower, maybe they, when they see this time, they maybe feel little angry. But in this perspective, of course, when you're really understanding the dependent origination and how it's worked. So that's why I mentioned earlier, first, emptiness, the detailed philosophy is second will of Dharma. Buddha taught in second will of Dharma, this subject. But before second will of Dharma, first, he turned the first will of Dharma, right? In that time, he taught Four Noble Truths, all these things. So, which means understanding the Four Noble Truths properly, which means how we circle in samsara, right? And the main that, understanding Four Noble Truths doesn't mean truth of suffering, truth of origin of suffering, truth of cessation. It's not about that. Of course, this is very easy, right? So sometimes we make misunderstanding. There is a behind there. Four Noble Truths is very difficult subject. There's so much things we have to learn. First, what we're learning among the philosophy, you really need to understanding mundane right view, right? Buddhist view, there are two, mundane right view, supermundane right view. First, you need to understanding the mundane right view. That Buddha taught in Four Noble Truths, first will of Dharma. He teach the mundane right view, which is law of causality, right? Law of karma. This is called the mundane right view. So that philosophy, cause and effect relationship. How these results coming from these causes? What kind of connection, right, between cause and effect? So when you really understand it properly, then you will understanding how oneself circle in samsara. So when you're knowing that, you understanding your ignorance, mind of ego grasping is the fundamental causes, like a main big boss, root causes of all the samsara sufferings, right? That you need to understand during the first will of Dharma, Four Noble Truths when you study. So that you need to study these things. So then, second will of Dharma when they come, so how to cut these root causes? Generally he teach Four Noble Truths, Now, actual equipment can able to cut your root causes of samsara is wisdom of dependent origination, right? Wisdom of emptiness. That detailed information, second wheel of Dharma, Pranjaparamita Sutra, he taught there, right? So therefore, here, when you're understanding these Four Noble Truths circle, mind of ego grasping is the fundamental causes. So a number of people may still don't understanding, your mind of ego grasping is the main causes of samsara. So many Buddhists, they consider themselves as a Buddhist, but they really don't understanding their Four Noble Truth, really not understand properly. So not understanding Four Noble Truth properly, they do not know how to practice. Really, some people, when we say how to practice, means we follow the sadhana, and they say the teacher tell us go first, second this, third go this way, this prayer, go this prayer, ritual or something. Not about it. This is specific certain things. But in general, because of the purpose of practicing Buddha Dharma is to overcome suffering. Simple. That's the only reason, right? We adopt Buddha Dharma is for sake of overcome suffering. So, not understanding, which means if you don't know fundamental causes of suffering is your mind of ego grasping, then whatever Dharma you do, you're never ever going to you're never ever apply to overcome your mind of ego grasping, to get rid of your mental affliction. You never apply karma for sake of overcome mental affliction. Right? That's what the many, Buddhist practitioners not applying on this. So not applying for sake of overcome mental affliction. So our mental affliction, the causes of suffering is not changing. It's not reducing. When the causes is not change, reason never change, right? That we learn during the Four Noble Truth. I mentioned earlier, mundane right view, right? Law of causality. So if you don't understanding the law of causality, then how can you apply for that? When you really understanding law of causality, then you know if causes is there, result definitely will be there. If causes not change, result will never change. Therefore, results are heavily depend on causes. What kind of causes can create that type of result? Nothing else. What result you get it depend on what kind of causes you have. Nothing else. There's nothing to go anything others. If causes not change, result not change. That kind of belief or knowledge, conviction, if you do not have that, then your practice not going to the right point. It's not going to right. So when the practice not going to the right way, then sometimes people, take advantages from them. That's why people get advantages. Then say, oh, this is the dharma instruction, very rare. Nobody will get it. So in order to get this dharma, you should offer certain dollar, this offer. Then I give that, then now you don't need to worry. Your next life will born into pure land, this land, whatever good things around there, you will going to born this way. And many people do that way. Many people do this way, right? And that's showing absolutely Buddha teach very clearly, openly. He's saying Four Noble Truth, truth of origin of suffering, and truth of cessation, which is that causes, cessation of these causes. Buddha said that, but these guys saying absolutely different. He's bringing something there. He have a different, what you call the, um, I forget this word. Different sell things he have. When the businessman comes, each time they bring something different sale. Right? Today they have this product. This product is in a new generation. It's like an iPhone, right? Or this time iPhone, whatever now, 14 or 15 or something. So this product now, next this product, right? Sale pitch. I don't know this word. I first time hearing. Yes, but like that. So it's kind of like that. So now, if you don't know the Four Noble Truths, what the Buddha say, then these people brings here. It's the new product. So you don't need to do. You just get there, take this product, you will get it there. Buddha wood, heaven, or pure land, wherever. They're doing. They're offering so much money. They're doing all kind of things. Nothing. There's nothing change. But mistake is what? Mistake is you. You don't understand. You're not study. So that's why you make your own mistake, right? So that is why we really need to understand the Four Noble Truth is actually Buddhist. If you really, you know, uh, wants to achieve ultimate happiness from the Buddhist perspective, Buddha Shakyamuni, what is his instruction, right? It's openly he teaches this Four Noble Truth. So it's very important. So when you learn the Four Noble Truth, it's not just truth suffering to the, not only for that way, not only the number of suffering, three different types of suffering, causes of suffering, mental affliction and karma, cessation of suffering, truth part, four part, blah, blah, blah. Just number and count it. Not that. That's one. That's good. But not only that, there is a hidden there, much more important, which I mentioned earlier. He talked about the mundane right view, Buddhist first view, philosophy, law of causality. That you need to really investigate it. Relationship between cause and effect, dependent origination. Every results are dependent on its own causal condition. Fully dependence, right? So these are the one, very important. So when you know that, then finally really understanding, since I am being circled in samsara, because my mind of ego grasping, right? Ego grasping, self grasping. My mind of self grasping is the one who tied me, bondage me in samsara. So as long as this is there, mind of ego grasping is there's no chance to liberate. No chance, right? Your leg is tied with a rope, and that rope is tied to the down of the sea, huge big rock tied there. So if you don't cut that rope, you're never ever going to come up, right, on the sea. Only the way is to cut this rope. There's no other solution. So this rope, in order to cut, you need a sword, knife, right? Otherwise, just prayer is not going to cut it. Right? So you need the knife. So knife, which are really sharp, who can able to cut, because the knife which have no sharp, they will not able to cut it. So that sharp knife is the main equipment. Without that, you will never ever come up on the ocean surface. You will remain under the deep of the oceans. That knife is wisdom of emptiness, right? Like a wisdom of emptiness. So that's the only who can cut that rope, which is mind of self-grasping. Is this rope who tied you in this samsara, right? So that understanding when you learn Four Noble Truth. Now, when you come to the second wheel of Dharma, emptiness meditation, you are looking at that knife now. How can I make this knife to cut this rope? Because I know troublemaker is down there, is my self-grasping, but since I'm fail, I never ever to fight to my self-grasping. I'm too fragile. So I'm learning this text, second wheel of Dharma, to get this knife, tool, this weapon, who can able to cut this mind of self-grasping, right? That's why it comes here. So when the Buddha teach second wheel of Dharma in Pranjaparamita Sutra, right? When he taught there, he explicitly talking about this whole emptiness directly. He's teaching this directly, emptiness, explicitly teaches. So that is why number of the student cannot understand these things. Only the qualified students can understand. So mind-only schools, kind of that level of the students, for them, Pranjaparamita Sutra is definitive meaning sutra. It's not a provisional sutra, right? All the Buddha's teaching, they put it into two. Definitive meaning of the sutra, provisional meaning of the sutra. Certain sutra you cannot accept directly. You have to interpret with something else. Those sutra is called provisional sutra, provisional, interpreted sutra. So the sutra which is directly accepted, definitive, right? So the mind-only school, for them, perfection of wisdom sutra is, they cannot assert as a definitive meaning of sutra. They call the Pranjaparamita Sutra is the provisional meaning of the sutra. They always interpret it. And they interpret, they cannot accept directly. So because they don't understanding, dependent origination means empty of inherent existence. They don't understand this. They're not capable to cognize that. It's too high for them. This philosophy is too high. So that's why they cannot assert belief directly. So that's why they interpret this, Pranjaparamita Sutras, something else. They interpret meaning differently. That's why Arya Asanga, the Arya Asanga is the one Indian master who interpret this meaning is something else. This meaning is that. This meaning is that. So that's why. So therefore, here, middle way school, the student, wise student, right? The stanza 6, the wise student who understanding dependent origination means emptiness. For them, this Buddha taught on dependent origination is the one of the marvelous. This something like a, kind of the lights now. You've been in the dark for eons and eons of life. Now this light comes, clean it up. That kind of, feeling when they understand the dependent originations. So that's why seeing Buddha, you are the real teacher, nothing else. Because way of you teaching the dependent origination is straight, directly helps to cut my ignorance, mind of self-grasping, which grasp everything that exists independently, solid, absolutely. That grasping is the one who tortured us to samsara, hold us, right? These are the one who bondage, tied us into samsara. Now you are the one who open that and release us. That's why you are the main real teacher, meaningful teacher. Rest of all of them, whatever they call teacher, but they are like words of flattery. It will be a word of flattery. It's not really meaningful, right? You call fox as a lion, same like that. So that's how, you know, it's kind of the flattery, it will be a word of flattery, expression through the praise that is contrary to the actual meanings. So that's the word flatteries, right? So the actual meaning is not there. The rest of the other teachers, but they cannot cut my fundamental ignorance, cannot able to cut it. You are the only the one. So that is why rest of the teacher for the Tatikas, it will be the words of flatteries. So you praise to the Buddha, you know, it's kind of the meaningful that when they call teacher, generally you call teacher to everybody, you can call it, but the Buddha, for you, that word is meaningful, significant. You are qualified. The rest of others, they're not qualified. You can call them as a teacher, but they're not qualified. It's like called the line to the fox. It's same like that. It's not real qualified. Therefore, that uh, is showing Buddha, you are the one, which is the what you call the reliable, you know, teachers. What you call the praising teacher as a supreme teachers and excellent teachers. That's stanza 7. Stanza 6, did I read it in Tibetan? I think I read it, but it repeat again one. Some of you may come late. Some of the lazy student comes late, so I can. You maybe miss this stanza, so I just uh, repeat again. 강도 송의 집안은 현진青蛙 땐제징 대니 켈러 쩌바이 타오마리 쩌베고 by grasping at it the childish, strengthening bondage to extreme views. For the wise, this very fact is the doorway to cut free from the nets of elaboration. That we finished, now. And second, stanza 7, 天地显度马通为东巴写在去你的瓦杰兰的圣洁西，目的杰兰真不清. Since this teaching is not seen elsewhere, you alone are the teacher, like calling fox a lion for Tatika, it will be a word of flattery. So these two stanza we finish this. So then next stanza 8, Emma Temba, Emma Chop, Emma Macho, Emma Gun, Tinjin Tejung Lesumbe, Temba de la Tacha says, wonders teacher, wonders refuge, wonders speaker, wonders savior. I pay homage to that teacher. You taught well-dependent originations. So, through this previous, many stanza we go. So thinking about mainly the kindness of the teaching this important dependent origination. So Lama Tsongkhapa feel tremendous faith or respect because of this philosophy. If Buddha not come to this planet, this philosophy will not exist. Nobody can discover. And the being who lives in this planet will remain same darkness, samsara. So you are the one who come and who discovered this philosophy, who taught us. So since that, it's the lights come to this planet. So many of the disciples get tremendous benefit. Now, if you do it, you have, tool is there now, right? So you take it, there's a way to achieve now liberations. So that's why he feels tremendous, right? It's saying, therefore, he have reason to prostrate, to praise to the Buddha who has excellently taught dependent origination, for he is the supreme and the most excellent teacher, right? Excellent refuge, excellent protectors or speaker, saver, right? Excellent savers. So here one of the master who explain, each of these four wonder teachers is kind of the conclusion, finally, when feel tremendous kind of the faith, and he was just saying, it's the wonder teacher. You are the Buddhas. Wonders means excellent teachers, right? So first, what that means here, I think this one of the Tibetan master, when he a commentary on these four meaning, is saying, having oneself, the Buddha himself, enter the unmistaken path and completed the journey to its end. One who shows that very path to others. This is why it's called wonders teacher, right? Himself applied this unmistaken path, which is the path of dependent origination, right? This philosophy himself enter unmistaken path and complete the journey, wisdom of emptiness, till end of the right end, which is enlightenment, Buddhahood. He reached that through understanding this dependent origination, and himself shows that same path, right, to the others. That is why it's called you are the excellent teacher, wonder teachers. And then second, one who is free from all faults such as ignorance, the root of one's own deterioration, means all the sufferings, right? The root of all the sufferings, and who is skilled in the means of the liberating others. So which means Buddha himself free from such of the ignorance, which is the root causes of all the suffering, and who is very skilled in the means of liberating others, himself very skilled to liberating other sentient beings, right? To teach to the other people, you have to have very skillful skill. So he's very skilled to lead others. One who's great compassion. Not only that, you have a great compassion is equal towards without near or far. So your compassion is equal to everybody, either near your own family, either your distant, your enemies, doesn't matter. Your compassion is absolutely equals, right? So you're on there who accomplish the benefit to all, whether one who has helped them or not. Not only that, who can also accomplish to benefit, to help to the other. Doesn't matter, the other who been helps you or who never been helps you, doesn't matter. You always be there for them to help them. This is why wonder refuge. That is why it's called excellent refuge. Because yourself is completely free from all the ignorance, liberated from all the samsara, right? You know all of these paths. Not only that, you have a quality to how to deliver, very skill to how to lead other people. When they come to you, you have to lead her. So sometimes even you are very knowledgeable, but you do not know how to take care of other, it's not benefit. So you are very skillful. You all know how to benefit, how to lead them. Not only that, you have sincerely compassion to all of them. So doesn't matter either your family, either your enemies. You have very pure, warm happiness, compassion towards all of them. Then upon there, if you are qualified, if the student are qualified, you doesn't matter whoever they are, you help them. If you're capable, you help them. So you're not only looking, I can help to my only student, not to others, not like that, unbiased. If these are ready, the other side is ready, you always be ready for them. So that kind of qualities you have, that is why you are qualified to lead others. So therefore, he called him to the Buddha as a wondrous refuge, right? Saver, kind of wonder refuge. You are the excellent refuge. Then the next one, who having seen the nature of things exactly as they are with valid reason, speaks in a way that leaves no grounds for others, objections or contradiction. This is why wonder speakers. So which means you have seen all this nature of things exactly as they are, which means Buddha, you have omniscient, right? Omniscient. So mind who cognizing all the phenomena. So whatever you're saying is not just you doubt and you just saying. You already recognize of them directly, but not kind of the reason or logic. Yourself directly valid cognitions you have to cognizing the reality. So when you teach, there's no contradiction. There's no any contraries because of what you're saying is you know all of them. Yourself fully understand. I'm teaching that. Therefore, there's no mistake. There's no contradictory. Therefore, you are the excellent speaker. And speakers, wonder speaker. That's why Lama Tsongkhapa say you are the wonder speakers. Then finally, Buddha who dispel the very subtle and gross faults of disciples. This is why wonders savor, right? So you know means you know how to overcome, right? How to overcome disciples' faults, gross level, subtle level. Each individual, we have layers and layers of obstacle, faults, ignorance. So you know how to overcome each of these obstacles. So therefore, as a disciple who rely on you, have very good advantages because you have all this medicine to cure all of this disease which we have, very subtle to very gross level of all the mental disease. So you have this medicine, right? That is why you are the wonder saver. You can able to save entire beings from their sufferings. because you have this medicine, the dharma, right? He has, that's why it's called excellent savers, because most of others, they don't have that medicine. One of the main thing is to cure the mind of self-grasping, which is the main root disease of rest of all the mental disease. They don't have this medicine, except Buddha, right? Buddha Shakyamuni. You have that medicines. And not only that, you have many philosophies. So mundane right view, super mundane right view, which you taught variety types of the philosophy because of our ignorance, a very gross level of ignorance to very subtle. Like a mundane right view, many people, we don't know. We're not understanding law of causality. We're not understanding law of karma. Number of them have completely misunderstanding on law of karma, law of causality, right? These are the grosser level. Then go more subtle. The super mundane right views. So all of these philosophy, the knowledge you have, and you know how to deliver these things. That is why first wheel of Dharma, second wheel of Dharma, in different time, you give these teachings, right? Each different times. So that means you are the excellent saver. First, what kind of medicine have to give? Second, what? He knows these things. Some doctor who have very good experience, knowledgeable, when they give the medicine, the treatment for the patient's disease, they giving different way. First, certain things. Next, they go different way. Next, go different way. The Tibetan, the doctors, they do this way. They're not giving all the medicine for all the illness, right? First, okay, these things first you have to cure. Then second, you have to cure this way. So they give the first, these to cure these diseases, and this disease and that disease and this related. So very skillful what kind of medicine they have to give. So Buddha is like that. He knows first grosser level of our ignorance, then subtle and subtle, he have all these medicines, right? These teachings. So that is why you are the excellent saver, right? Excellent savers. So that's why here saying wonders teacher, wonders refuge, wonders speaker, wonders saver. I pay homage to that teacher who taught well dependent origination. Through that, I pay homage. So it's very different. Sometimes we go to the temple and pay homage. It's very just, I just pray to the Buddhas like that. It's really through understanding each of these qualities. Then when you praise and you homage, prostrate, prostration to the Buddha, it's that faith, that devotion really encourage you to study what the Buddha taught, to practice what Buddha taught you, to follow what he guides you. So your faith and the respect attitude to the Buddha, it's for you, it's inspire you, encourage you to practice the Dharma, to study the Dharma, right? So many Buddhists, when we go to the temple, we pray the Buddha, bowing. It's not that much encourage them to study dependent origination, to practice Dharma, right? They just bowing and go. So their faith is a very dry faith. They do have faith by culture. So that culture faith is very dry. It's not deeper there. So the faith which is understanding what the Buddha taught, understanding his marvelous philosophy, where he taught us, understanding his inner quality of compassion, skill, right? His knowledge, his philosophy, that when you cultivate that faith, that faith is completely different. It encourages you to study, to practice, and to follow these practice. So that is why he says, I pay homage to that teacher who taught well dependent origination. So therefore, when you're really understanding dependent origination is the meaning of emptiness, then it's really something changing for your faith and what you call the inspiration. You're seeing Buddha Shakyamuni is absolutely different person. Usually we see the Buddha who's born in Lumbini, age of this, become a monk, become a Buddha, and this story, we're telling the story, same like that. That's all. But understanding the teaching of dependent origination, understanding your mistake, circle in samsara, is by your mind of ego grasping, right? Knowing oneself is still right now, we are under the ocean, down there, right? We are still down the deep of the ocean there. Our leg is tied by this heavy chain, and it's tied with a rock. So that we are right now in samsara, right? Oceans of samsara. So that chain we tied on the rock is the main thing holding down there. So only the way is to cut that. None of other teachers teach us how to cut these things. Nobody has solution to deal with that except Buddha Shakyamuni. You are the one who found that solution, who found finally who puts you down there. Right? Everything after Buddha came, then it's aware. Now it's the light is shining to this world, showing all these faults, why we are there, how to get rid of this. This instruction we receive through Buddhas, right? Himself. So that's why I feel tremendous appreciate of the kindness of teaching this Dharma. So therefore, you're cultivating your faith and respect attitude to Buddha. It's very different. It's encourage you. So therefore, this prayer, when you're reciting, it's planting this and a special seed to connection to the Buddha's teaching of dependent origination. This philosophy. General, there are common things, unique things. Common, for instance, love, patience, compassion. These common teaching, all the teachers being taught in the Christian tradition, in the ancient Hindu, Jewish, right? Islam, Christian, there are many others. And today, there are many spiritual new age, they're talking about love and compassion. So we have many common things, right? These are the common to everybody. But the unique solution, which is other nobody has, is this dependent origination. Philosophy, mind of ego grasping is your main causes of suffering. So circle in samsara because of mind of ego grasping. These kind of unique information, only Buddha. So therefore, as a Buddhist, when you really study, research that, my anger, my attachment, my jealousy, right? These are the one who are creating these karma and circle in samsara. These destructive emotions arise from mind of ego grasping. How they arising from there? What a connection between each of these destructive emotions with mind of ego grasping? What is that mind functioning? So all this, you read it when you study Four Noble Truths, then yourself research, investigate, analytical meditation, right? Then when you finally found these things, you feel tremendous kind of the gratitude to the Buddha. He's the one saying these things. Then after that, he gives, this is the medicine. Now you can cure that dependent origination. And he teach that. Now that philosophy, you study, thinking, then you, finally, even not cut your mind of ego grasping, but you 100% what you call believe, convince. This wisdom of dependent origination is the one definitely going to cut my mind of self-grasping. Even knowing these things, tremendous release, your fears. You have always hope there now. Oh, there is a hope that can free from samsara. There's something there. It's not just, this is too far, something there. I can do it this. It gives you something like a really courage. Then when you see this Buddha, this is the teacher, who gives this all information. And how deep philosophy it is, dependent origination. So then you feel more under the faith and respect, seeing this is the only the one, nothing else. When you really study these things, then you can see the unique. Buddhism has how much unique way to deal with a problem. It's not just faith. It's nothing to talk about just simple faith. Faith is very important. But that faith, everything built it from logic, from wisdom, understanding how it's connected, how it arises, how you cut it, why this reason, what is that? This detailed information, right? Then when you look into these Indian masters after the Buddha, right? Then you feel tremendous appreciation to each of these masters and how much they put effort to commentary, to research, specialize for each of the Buddha's teachings. There's each of the masters specialize in each of them and what you call research them and give the information, commentaries, right? So today makes everything very easy. So after the Buddha, all of these great masters, specific Nagarjuna, right? Then Chantakirti. So not just story, read Nagarjuna's text, right? The fundamental wisdom is the 27 chapters. Then read the Chantakirti text, right? There's 10 chapters, entering the middle ways. It's when you read it, then each of these details, you look it in the Panchaparamita Sutra and read those Nagarjuna texts. You can see where it is coming from. If yourself read it Panchaparamita Sutra, you have no idea what that meaning of this. So there's Nagarjuna, Chantakirti, Maitreya, Ornament of Realization, right? These are the one when you read it, then you're seeing these masters, how much knowing, how can their brain is so smart. They can bring many things in clear. During the Buddha's teaching, it's not very, very clear. But that time, those students has enough. They can understand from that perspective. Now the new generation come, more difficult to understand. Those masters put effort and detailed commentaries of each of those texts. Then you can see, wow, these masters, that's all called lineage masters. A connection with each of these masters. Today we're listening, we study because of these lineage masters, where they explain, read the commentaries, student to student, right? They deliver. So that's how these informations today we got it. So then praise to the Buddha and all those lineage masters, and for according to the Guru devotion towards oneself, your own teacher, where you got it, I got it from my teachers. Then you appreciate, they apply those same faith and respect attitude to one's own gurus. That's called devotion, guru devotions. And now we're doing the guru yoga practice. I mentioned when the Manjushri tell to the Lama Tsongkhapa three methods to realizing the emptiness, right? Three different methods. So one of the methods is seeing your guru as a deities, inseparably. Do guru yoga practice, which is the mainly guru yoga is or devotion to one's own gurus, where you receive these, teachings. Then study, constantly research and study on these textbooks and accumulate merits, every day, purify your obstacles. These three, methods, then eventually you can able to experience that emptiness, right? That's the Manjushri's advice to the Lama Tsongkhapa. So he followed that instruction, he experienced emptiness. That's how he wrote this text. Today we study. So this today, we're going to leave. Today we finished stanza three, right? Three finished. So 6, 7, 8. So we have a few minutes there. Any questions? Oh, I have to leave. I have to release you guys. Okay, now you have. So if you have any questions, just unmute and ask. Go ahead.
Geshe-la, I wanted to know, maybe you don't have time this evening, but at some point, do you think that you could explain in the introductory prayers, the expression of worship from Lord Maitreya's Abhi Samaya Lamkara? Do you think that you could explain those short verses?
Oh, this one is too much. So I can maybe in the future, not yet.
Sure.
So this is just simple word we're not going to be understand. There are lots of things inside there. So it's kind of actually the praise, homage prayer of the ornament of realization by Maitreya. I mentioned earlier the ornament of realization text. That's the first prayer. So there's lots of kind of information out there. Some the word even I cannot translate into English. So I have to find it out what that called in English. So then future, if I got time, we'll see. But I think it's quite difficult right now. Go ahead, Kema. Sister
yes,
Kema. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have a question. This is the in praise of dependent origination. So are we going to learn all the 12 links of dependent origination and the connection between those links in the retreat? Or
in the retreat, we're not going to learn the 12 link of interdependence. Of course, not directly, but indirectly, there is a connection between these things. But the 12 link of interdependence is specific. Reason is specific for renunciation practice, and I think the retreats we don't have enough time to go to each of this link and then explain, then meditate. So it kind of, if I go just simple way, it's very easy, just simple way, within the 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you can explain and go. But that will not that much benefit. So if you go a little bit detail, then it's take little longer, because the retreat, this time my retreat, the retreat we focus is it's called the all-encompassing yoga mind, which is bodhicitta and wisdom of emptiness. These are the two main. So therefore I have to spend more time to the bodhicitta, and then emptiness. So renunciation, spending one day, but then when you practice for the renunciation just only for one day, just have to go with other the death meditation, precious human life, all these things have to go. So then 12 link, when you add it there, then we don't have time. So in the future, maybe
Yes.
one extra class and go with that. That will see in the future.
Yeah, this what I want to brought up. Like I want to bring up. We need to have a further classes on 12 links of dependent origination.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Kushala. You already promised. Thank you.
I promised, but I didn't promise the exactly time. Maybe it's 80 years after.
No, you are an excellent teacher. So it will be soon. Thank you, Kushala.
Okay. So, any question?
Yes, Geshe, I have a question,
Yeah.
please.
Go ahead.
Geshe, I started, I read before the Jay Nagarjuna's text on lack of intrinsic awareness, dependent origination, emptiness, and so on. And I just want to say how I think it exists. This is just my attempt to see if I understand it. So it says basically phenomena are not, or phenomena don't have the same basis, nor do they have a different original basis. So in my mind, this means that phenomena can't originate from a same permanent nature because we see the differences. Where would the differences that we see with our mind come from? How would a permanent original thing produce impermanent different things? So that doesn't make sense. Then the other choice is that all the differences and qualities that we see in reality of all the aggregates and so on, and that all of these have a permanent different source, which doesn't make sense either because it would have to be permanent, infinite different realities. And how would they end up interacting if they're all permanently different? So they can't have a same ultimate nature because of the differences that we see. And they can't have a different ultimate nature because that would just be infinite craziness. How would they even come, the separate realities come into existence and then change? So the lack of intrinsic existence simply means that you have to accept that it's magic. I mean, that's the only, the mind functions, but there's nothing to call it.
So it is good to, when you read the Nagarjuna text, this root text may be the fundamental wisdom. So when you read it directly, you may misunderstanding because they cannot put all the words in there. So when you read Nagarjuna text, it's good to follow with the commentaries, some of the commentaries. There are many other teachers' commentary. One from Lama Tsongkhapa himself has a commentary on that Nagarjuna's text. So when you go with the commentary, then when he says there's no absolute, ultimate, the same base, you say the words, they always, when they say that, that doesn't mean it's directly meaning like that. That means ultimately they are not arising from the causes. There's no ultimately causes there. There's no ultimate, results there. So when you added ultimate on there, that means inherently, they are not arising inherently from the causes condition. right? Inherently, you added these things. So just root text, they don't add each time inherently. One time they added, rest of all of them, you have to know it means inherently. It means ultimately. It means something. So sometimes we miss these things because direct word they do not have, because it makes all his texts are made like a pottery, only 777 words. So therefore, there are many things they take it out. So that's why they go with the commentaries. Then it's what that means. They give you. They added many things. They take it out. So sometimes you just directly read it. It's kind of difficult. You know, they are not arising from same base or something like that, or the result. They're talking about cause and result. But you have to go with all of them as ultimately. They're not ultimately, which means independently. In this specific this text, when they say ultimately, means independently. So independently, they not arise from causes. Independently, they not arise from. They don't uh, create results and nothing there. So independently, they not exist independently. So that's why you go with commentary, then it's much more easier to understand.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, so we're going to finally dedication. So it's good to read what you call the for the emptiness. You can read it. Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chemo, the third volumes. It's very good. So these Nagajunas right now, your questions are these doubt, this kind of doubt they have in the ancient Tibetan masters. So they have a debate on, explain on these things in the Lamrim Chemo, the third volume. You know, these are available in English. So when you read it there, they have this kind of explanation on these volumes. But I cannot go the detail on this, but you can find it in the Lamrim Chimo also.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, so
Thank you.
we recite the dedication prayer now. Samsara and nirvana lack even an atom of true existence, while cause and effect and dependent arisings are infallible. I seek your blessing to discern the import of Nagarjuna's thought that these two are complementary and not contradictory. Chanjo Semjo Rinpoche, Majepan Kijuch, Geba Nyamba Mepa, Kone Kondu Pewa Show. May the precious and sublime Bodhicitta not yet born be born, and that which has been born not decline, but increase forever. In the snowy mountain paradise, you are the source of good and happiness. Powerful things in Gyatso Chenresi, may you stay until samsara ends. Throughout the world, and in particular this region, may there be no sickness, famine, war, and so on. May all sentient beings live happily in accord with the law of Dharma, and may they all find wealth, prosperity, and all goodness. So dedication, one, it's important is, when you dedicate your merits, also it's important to dedicate to yourself, not only one life, but till achieve Buddhahood, always to connecting with this philosophy, dependent origination. Empty means dependent means empty. This kind of philosophy, teachings, and the teacher who are qualified to teach on these things, always to found these teachers and always to have opportunity to study, to practice on this philosophy and always dedicate for oneself to share this marvelous teaching to any other beings. Whoever, even not understanding, even the hearing this teaching can tremendous put some kind of little seed to future, to connection to this teaching. So it is kind of good to, when you dedicate on this way. So dedications are actually very, very powerful. There's one little story. Maybe it is kind of good to important to know that. So Shariputra, you know, right? Buddha have two disciples. When you see the Buddha statue, always there are two disciples, right? One is called Shariputra, and one other side is called Mangalputra. Shariputra is one of the best among the Buddha's student, one of the most best wisdom. He's a very smart student. Mangalputra is one of the powerful, what you call illusion. He can do kind of a power to like a magic things. I don't know how to say this. So he has the best experience on this. Shariputra become a monk very easy. His parents accept he have no problem, no obstacle to become a monk. The other side, I think the Mangalputra, one of the famous Buddhists, is so difficult to become a monk. There's so much obstacle. Parents are not agreeing, then family pressure. So you have to sacrifice so much just to become a monk. So much problems. So finally, they discuss why you have very easy. But the other side, Mangalputra, I think, wow, yes, so hard. And then Shariputra says, my past life, I've been many times prayer, dedicate my merit to become a monk, whole life. So these dedications, the power, it's happening in this life. Parents agree, no problem, very easy. All the circumstances comes very naturally, easily. The other side, very difficult. So that's showing because of his dedications in the past. So when you dedicate the merit, right, when you dedicate it, and that merit, because general merit is like a money. So this money, you can buy computer, you can buy food, you can buy house, you can buy anything. As long as you have money, you can buy anything. So merit is like that. You can have this good result, that good result, many results. But specific, this money wants to use specific to buying the house, for instance. That means that money will becoming specific for the house. So you dedicating your merit, general merit is for happiness, anything. So now when you dedicate that merit, you put it into the bank, right? Your merit, put it into the bank for sake of what you dedicated. So when you dedicate it is to find always qualify my teachers, then specific this merit becoming causes of to find the qualified teachers. So what kind of result you want it for your merit, your dedication is the one who make that. So that's why the dedications are very, very important, right? So any other dedication you do it's very benefit. Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Geshe-la.
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la.